Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hare Radha Madhava. Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hare Radha Madhava. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopi Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivana Dari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hare. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivana Dari. Yasodanandana Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Prabhujakacharya Astatirtha Shishimad. His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Anantaguru Vaismani Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Prem Sigaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Shri Vrindavan Ki Jai, Shri Maya Panavidam Ki Jai, Gangamai Ki Jai, Jamunamai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai, Holy Nam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Go Premanandi. All glories and devotees, all glories and devotees, all glories and devotees, all glories, Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this evening we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is. We're going to read from the verse that Srila Prabhupada spoke on more than any other verse in the Bhagavad Gita. It's 7.1. 7.1. Yeah, it's not one that you hear very much, but this is what Prabhupada spoke on more than any other verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Maya Shaktam Manaparta Yogam Yunjam Marashraya Asangsayam Samagramam Yathagya Touchtanu. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Maya Shaktam Manaparta Yogam Yunjam Marashraya Asangsayam Samagramam Yathagyas Tachjanu Sri Bhagavana. The Supreme Lord said, Mai, to me, Ashaktamana, mind attached, Partha, Osunaprata, Yogam, self-realization, Yunjan, practicing, Madashraya, in consciousness of me, Krishna consciousness, Samsayam, without doubt, Samagram, completely, Mam, me, Yata, how, Yasyasi, you can know, Tat, that, Shanu, try to hear. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. It's a bit of a long purport. No, not too long. But so we'll just gradually go through it. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, now hear, O son of Pritha, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. Purport. In this seventh chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the nature of Krishna consciousness is fully described. Krishna is full in all opulences. And how he manifests such opulences is described herein. Also 4 kinds of fortunate people who become attached to Krishna, and 4 kinds of unfortunate people who never take to Krishna consciousness are described in this chapter. And Sri Prabhupada mentions that the first 6 chapters and the last 6 chapters, they protect the middle 6 chapters. Interesting. So this is the first verse of those middle 6 chapters that are protected. There's one guru that is famous guru, but he only translated up to the 6th chapter. Couldn't go beyond that. So Prabhupada, he gave the whole thing here. So we'll gradually go through this. Om Jnanatimandasya Gnananjana Salakaya Chakshurma Ditamjina Tasmai Shri Gurve Namah Mukam Gurtabachalam Punganung Hayate Grim Yatkripataraham Bande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Vanchikapatubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Deva Chapatitanam Pabnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasri Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So here, Krishna, he first says, Ashaktamana, with mind attached to me. So unfortunately in this world, people are attached to so many other things. It's like Prahlad Maharaj, he says that one of the main attachments is money. Money is sweeter than honey, he says. And it's so true. People they die. They'll risk their lives. Just like these what are they called? Mercenaries? They go and they go into dangerous areas and ready to die for money. And many of the soldiers that join the military and go to war, money, So, people work so hard trying to get more and more money. So this is a big attraction in the material world. Of course, people are very attached to sense gratification in the many varieties of ways. But the Lord, Krishna, he is telling us here, mind attached to me. And it's interesting, Prahlad Maharaj, he is very attached to Krishna, one of the greatest Vaishnavas. Actually, just him and one of his descendants, Bali Maharaj, and I think Vyasadeva. They're all in the category, there's the Shravanam, Kirtan, and Vishnu Smaran. So there's different devotees that are expert in those. So Prahlad Maharaj, he was expert at remembering, and Bali Maharaj, one of his descendants, his grandson, He was best at surrendering everything. And both of them are also Mahajans. So, Pladmars and Balimars, both born in demon families. So that gives some hope to us, yeah. I think Vyasadeva, he was also the other one that was in both of those categories. So very, very attached to Krishna, and this is the goal, to become attached to Krishna. And then he says that one has to practice. Just like if one wants to become good at anything, just like they have the Olympics and people are practicing, literally, like years, trying to become expert in their particular field. Imagine, pole vaulting for years. Must be pretty boring. Just pole vaulting. To be number one, in the world, jumping with a pole. So many things. They swim, like, 8 hours a day, 8 hours a day, to be number one. And then, they work so hard, and then, there's only one person's going to be one. So, of course, it's good exercise. But if you practice at anything, you get good at it. So, we have to continue this practice of Krishna consciousness. And we have to be patient also. And we're trying to come out of a situation of a long time material existence, a long time. Only Krishna knows how many lifetimes. So now this one lifetime, we're trying to completely clean up our act, become free of all contamination, all Maya. So that needs great determination, patience, and practice. And as we continue, we get better and better and better at it. And Krishna, he gives us tests. Now sometimes tests come and devotees even do it. So why is Krishna doing this to me? Why? I'm a devotee. Why is he doing this to me? But it's to help us, actually, to become stronger. Because there's going to be the final test, which is death. So we have to be prepared for. That's the main test. Are we going to think of Krishna? Because it's described that when one leaves the body, one's whole life flashes before him. Whatever we're attached to, that's what we're going to think of at the time of death. And whatever it is we're attached, that's what we're thinking of now, also. Throughout our life, whatever it is that we're attached to, that's what we think of. So we're trying to train the mind to think of Krishna, which is the best meditation. To just meditate on satisfying the senses. This is what the animals. This is what the animals are doing. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's stated that there's 4 activities that the animals do and the human beings do, which makes us very similar. But the human being, they have a bigger brain to help understand higher subject matters. They're eating, sleeping, mating, defending. We're all doing these things. Animals, human beings. But if the human being only does that and doesn't use that, we have the bigger brain. If we don't use that bigger brain for understanding higher things, then we're no better than the animal. Wasted. Therefore, it's said, Tripada Pashu, that there's Dvipada Pashu, 2-legged animals. As Prabhupada said, that the human being, they have their car and they're driving down the street, and 4 wheels, and the dog, he's running down the street, 4 paws. But the same mentality, they're all looking for sense gratification. So it's just a major waste. So We don't want to go through that path again. Prabhupada said that the greatest fear of a devotee is to again go into the animal species of life. The greatest fear. So it's interesting here, Prabhupada says that if we do this, then we'll know Krishna completely without a doubt. Of course, we can't know Krishna completely. Even Krishna is described, Prabhupada said, even Krishna doesn't know himself completely, because Krishna is always expanding. So Krishna is trying to give us some encouragement here that we could understand him to some degree. But without doubt, now that's something that's a big achievement. Even Arjuna said, "Please, Krishna, remove these doubts. Only you can remove this doubt." And he compared them to demons. Doubts are compared to demons because it's doubt that can drag one away. Even inconceivably, some devotees have come and practiced Krishna consciousness for some years and become Brahmins, but then they have doubts. So many doubts, some of them have even become atheists. Of course, this is due to offenses. So, therefore, we have to be very careful. We have to study the books very, as Prabhupada says, seriously, which means thoughtful. We have to read very seriously, and seriously avoid offending devotees, because that could lead in a very dark area of life. So what's the opposite of doubt? Is faith. By hearing and chanting and serving and associating, we become very faithful. Of course, there's preliminary faith. Just like there's a verse actually in this purport, Nasta prayesha badresu nityam bhagavata sevaya, that by regularly hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and serving the pure devotees, one becomes almost completely free of, what does he say? Let's see if he gives the exact translation here. Anyway, he says, Nasta praise, you see there. Anyway, let's you have the verse there. Nasta prayeshu badreshu.
So, Nasta, destroyed, creation.
Yeah, read the translation.
Okay. Translation: by regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, whose praise with transcendental song is established as an irrevocable fact.
So one may ask, so why is it almost? Why is the troublesome thing almost destroyed? Because that's the beginning. Hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and serving the pure devotees, that's the beginning. Adao shodata tashadu sangata bhajanakriya. You know that verse? It's a very, very important verse, actually. This is the process. First, there's some preliminary first. Just like people, they get some faith in us, just like we, especially now in India, we're just doing a lot of prasadam there. But we did a survey when I was in Miami. We called up 100 people, just by at random. What do you like most about the Harekrishna movement? And without exception, they said the hearing and the kirtan. We go out in Harinam. We're the only people that do that in the world, practically. So people like that. We're the only ones that go out and sing and dance in the public. So people like that. They create some faith. Oh, it's nice. And a lot of times people come join us. So it's nice. And we have prasad. We have books. People get faith in us by the knowledge that we have in our books. And I remember I met one. We were on Harinam, and I was distributing a book to one lady, and she said, you people are the happiest people in the world. I travel, I see you people, and you're always happy. So they get faith, just seeing the devotees singing and chanting, and they're happy, and they're distributing, valuable knowledge. So they get some preliminary faith. So and then from that, sometimes people, they inquire a little further, and they find out, we give out invitation, just like you have your nice gathering here. What do you call this? Yeah. Krishna Lounge. So people, they get attracted. They get some preliminary faith. They get a book, or they see the Harinam, or somehow and now you have like 40 people coming there on Thursday nights. It's pretty nice. So there's some preliminary faith there. And I read the Bhagavad Gita, I thought, I became very faithful. I thought, this is good. Then I met the devotees. And so adau sadhu, then you associate with devotees. If you show a lot of interest from that preliminary faith, you want to associate, where are these people that have this nice philosophy, or this, they're singing and dancing, where do they hang out? Find out where they are. So then they associate with the devotees. So what are devotees doing? We're all trying to serve Krishna in some way. Yeah. So from that association with the devotees, bhajana kriya, which means devotional service. I remember I was chanting japa one time in the temple in Miami, and there was another person. We were both chanting japa in front of the deities, and one person came and said, "Excuse me, Prabhu, we need some help. Can you help me out?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So the devotee next to me said, "You must be chanting your japa better than me, because he went to you instead of me to do this service." So I said, so that's how this works. Okay, you're praying for a service, and people come and ask. So yeah, that's the meaning of the Hare Krishna mantra. We're trying to serve Krishna. We're begging Krishna, please engage me in your service. So yeah, bhajana kriya. So then they get some preliminary faith, they associate with devotees, then they learn about devotional service. Adau tata sangada bhajana kriya. Taton artha nivrittisha. Now it gets tough. Now that's not that difficult, to get some preliminary faith, to associate with the devotees, and of course now it's a little more difficult because of the virus thing. And then to engage in devotional service. I mean, people give donations, and it's like I was so impressed just a couple of days ago. Some old lady was walking down the alley here, and I felt sorry for her. She just looked old, and she had all had her bag, and had her cart, and kind of felt sorry for her. But then she was actually coming to the temple, and she was donating some applesauce. Yes, she wanted to donate. I was like, wow, just see. You can't judge a book by the cover, So she came and she gave some donation to the deities. I was like, wow, you never know. So even there's this homeless lady, struggling like anything materially, but she's engaged in devotional service. So it's not limited. It's very devotional service is very, this, I don't know if you know, but in the first Rath Yatra we ever had in New York City, on Fifth Avenue, which Prabhupada went to, in 1976, we had to build these 3 huge carts, and there was no place to build it. In New York City, what are you going to build? But there was one place. Toshan Krishna Prabhu, he was in charge of finding some place and getting these carts built. The only place where we can do it was owned by none other than our president. And he said, yeah, sure, go right ahead. No problem. Didn't charge us. So he got some mercy there. Prabhupada was so pleased. So when he saw the whole festival, you can't imagine. Prabhupada said Fifth Avenue is the most important street in the most important city in the world. So he asked Tamal Krishna Maharaj, who's behind this? Who did this? And Toshan Krishna, it was amazing. He told me the whole story, because they weren't allowed to have any more festivals down the street. And he prayed to Krishna and Srila Prabhupada like anything to get permission for this festival. And it ended up at this one person, who's in charge of it, and he said, "No, we've canceled them all." And he just prayed like anything, and finally said, "Well, all right." And he took the pen. He signed. He said, "I don't know why I'm signing this." He signed it, and we were the only ones. I think we're the only ones still. Krishna just, there is a God. So it was Prabhupada's desire. It's amazing. I mean, just 10 years earlier, Prabhupada had just started, and all there was that little center, 22nd Avenue. 10 years later, they're going down the street with, literally thousands of devotees. In this Rath Yatra, the biggest Rath Yatra ever. It was bigger than San Francisco. So this is the Shakti of Srila Prabhupada. And this also creates a lot of faith in people. To see these nice festivals, and we distribute so much prasadam for free, and it's just, so these festivals. Prabhupada said that we could have a festival every day. He really liked these festivals because it's an opportunity for people to hear about Krishna, to get prasadam. So adaushrat tasa sangata bhajanakya taton arti. So this now gets tough. Anarti navritti, which means, you know what it means, right? You're giving up bad habits. This is the tough part. It gets difficult. Because habit is second nature. And therefore Prabhupada, in a purport recently we read, Prabhupada said, don't hold it against somebody if he deviates some. It's just due to past habit, past bad habit. So don't take it too seriously. Just, he said, overlook it. Overlook it. Sometimes we see something, that somebody's done something wrong, and we kind of focus on it. But Prabhupada said, no, just overlook it. Don't take it too seriously. We're all prone to making mistakes. So, but we have these bad habits. So what we're trying to do now is replace bad habits with good habits. Become attached to good habits. And some of these bad habits they're there in the mind. They're subtly there, and there's attachment to sense gratification, different types of sense gratification. But this whole process of chanting Hare Krishna, of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing Srimad Bhagavad Gita, hearing all these pastimes and the philosophies is meant to replace. Actually, Prabhupada says renovate. It's like when you renovate a building, then they say you gut it. You gut it. You just take everything out and you just have walls there. So that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to gut it. Just get all this garbage, all this nonsense out, and just fill it with Krishna. Prabhupada said that the yoga system, the bhakti yoga system, is to remove all the materialism, all the desires for material enjoyment, and fill it with this desire to serve Krishna. This is the bhakti yoga process, the pure bhakti yoga process. And this process is so powerful, it's so attractive, that we've seen so many devotees that were. I remember there was one person, he came and he was associated with the devotees, but this person, he was so spaced out. Everything about him, his speech, his way he dressed, everything was just like, oh God. And I was thinking, Krishna, if you make this person a devotee, my faith will increase. big time. He became a very nice devotee. He's initiated now by Indradyumna Swami. He's doing service in the temple in Vrindavan, and became a book distributor. He became a pujari in Vrindavan. It's like, I'm like, wow, this process works. It really works. So yeah, we just have to continue on, patiently practice, and eventually we'll become free of these bad habits, and good habits will be there to replace them. So, Adao Shurat Tatashadu Sangata Bhajan Taton Artha Nivritti Taton Nishta. Nishta means firm faith. So we had that preliminary faith. When you give up these bad habits, and we have this attachment to serving Krishna, to pleasing Krishna, to serving the devotees, then we get firm faith. Then we can't be bewildered anymore by the illusory energy. You get fixed. So Dao Shurat Tatashat Sangota Bhajana Taton Artha Nivritti Taton Nishta Ruchistata. Then you get ruchi. From that firm faith in Krishna, you get a ruchi. You just become attached, just want to serve Krishna very enthusiastically. And we see so many devotees, like so many amazing devotees that we hear about in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada himself, and devotees in our ISKCON society. Prabhupada said there was one devotee who was our modern-day saint, Jayananda. He was so attached to serving Srila Prabhupada, to serving Krishna. And many devotees, so that you get a taste for serving Krishna. It's like so many devotees are serving or distributing books. They got a taste for distributing books. Now we have some that have been distributing books for over 50 years. Yeah, it's like pretty ecstatic. Yeah, they get a taste. And then Bhava, and then Prem. So this is the sequence. Continuing here, in the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, the living entity has been described as non-material spirit soul capable of elevating himself to self-realization by different types of yogas. At the end of the 6th chapter, it has been clearly stated that the steady concentration of the mind upon Krishna, or in other words, Krishna consciousness, is the highest form of all yoga. By concentrating one's mind upon Krishna, one is able to know the absolute truth completely, but not otherwise. Impersonal Brahmajyoti, or localized Paramatma realization, is not perfect knowledge of the absolute truth, because it is partial. Full and scientific knowledge is Krishna. So what are the other two? Well, it says there's actually one. There's the impersonal Brahmajyoti, then he says the Paramatma, and then of course there's the Bhakti, love for Krishna. So those are the different types of perfection. So full scientific knowledge of Krishna, and everything is revealed to the person in Krishna consciousness. In complete Krishna consciousness, one knows that Krishna is ultimate knowledge beyond any doubt. There's one verse, Yoma mevama samuro janati prusota sasarva vibhajanti sarva bharata. That Krishna says, whoever knows me as a supreme personality of Godhead, without doubting, Krishna says he's the knower of everything. Interesting. And such a person, he becomes wise, and all his endeavors will know perfection. Interesting. It's like Prabhupada, he was so pure, had such a sincere desire to serve Krishna. And he had this desire, he had a goal. Goals are very good, you know. You set a goal, just like on book distribution. Sometimes devotees they set goals. The Prabhupada set a goal. You remember what the goal? 108 temples. He wanted 108 temples. So, because he was so pure, he was so wise, that desire was fulfilled. I mean, I don't know if it was exactly 108. Maybe it was. I've heard it was. So Krishna fulfilled his desire. So, yeah, this is one of the wonderful results of having complete faith in Krishna. Different types of yoga are only stepping stones on the path of Krishna consciousness. One who takes directly to Krishna consciousness automatically knows about Brahmajyoti and Paramatma in full. By practice of Krishna consciousness yoga, one can know everything in full, namely the absolute truth, the living entities, the material nature, and their manifestations with paraphernalia. So that's everything. What Prabhupada just said there, that's everything. You got the material nature, you got the living entities, the absolute truth. And then he says, and the manifestations with paraphernalia. That's everything. So if you become a pure devotee, then you know what is spirit, you know what is matter, and you know the controller of both. That's everything. One should therefore begin yoga practice as directed in the last verse of the 6th chapter. Concentration of the mind upon Krishna the Supreme is made possible by prescribed devotional service in 9 different forms, of which Shravanam is the first and most important, as we heard from Prahlad Maharaj. The Lord therefore says to Arjuna, Tatjanu, or hear from me. No one can be a greater authority than Krishna, and therefore by hearing from him one receives the greatest opportunity to become a perfectly Krishna-conscious person. One has therefore to learn from Krishna directly or from a pure devotee of Krishna, and not from a non-devotee upstart, puffed up with academic education. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the process of understanding Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, is described in the 2nd chapter of the 1st canto as follows. These are all famous verses. Shrimatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Huryantasto Hyabhadrani Viranoti Suhitsatam Nasta Prayesu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyutama Sloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki Tadarajas Tamo Bhava Kamalabhadrayastaye Chaityater Nadvighang Sitvam Sattve Prasidati Evam Prasana Manaso Bhagavad Bhakti Yogata Bhagavad Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate Vidya Hriyagantim Sthidyante Sarva Sangsaya Shriyante Chasya Karmani Drishta Evat Manishvare. Quote, to hear about Krishna from Vedic literatures or to hear from him directly through the Bhagavad Gita is itself righteous activity. And for one who hears about Krishna, Lord Krishna, who is dwelling in everyone's heart, acts as a best well-wishing friend and purifies the devotee who constantly engages in hearing of him. In this way, a devotee naturally develops his dormant transcendental knowledge. As he hears more and more about Krishna from the Bhagavatam and from the devotees, he becomes fixed in devotional service to the Lord. By development of devotional service, one becomes freed from the modes of passion and ignorance, and thus material lust and avarice are diminished. When these impurities are wiped away, the candidate remains steady in his position of pure goodness, becomes enlivened by devotional service, and understands the science of God perfectly. This bhakti yoga severs the hard knot of material affection and enables one to come at once to the stage of asangsayang samagramam, understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, truth, excuse me, let me read that again. This bhakti yoga severs the hard knot of material affection and enables one to come at once to the stage of asangsayam samagramam, understanding of the Supreme Absolute Truth Personality of Godhead. Therefore, only by hearing from Krishna or from his pure devotee in Krishna consciousness can one understand the science of Krishna. It's like in one purport, Prabhupada says that one can see Krishna on every page of the Bhagavatam if one hears with rapt attention. But to hear with rapt attention, one has to be pure in mind. To be pure in mind, one has to be pure in action. To be impure in action, one has to be pure in eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. But if one is able to hear in this way, then one can see Krishna on every page of the Bhagavatam. So it's interesting that hearing with rapt attention is dependent on, as Prabhupada said, on pure eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. This is very interesting. Huh? It's like Prabhupada, when he would eat, 99% of the time he would eat alone. Like there's one pastime where a devotee, he wanted to be in the room when Prabhupada was honoring prasadam. So he set the table, he set the plate of prasadam on his table, and he went and he kind of squatted next to the door just to be in the room. He wanted to have that experience. So then Prabhupada looked up and said, "Yes." And he paid him, and he left. So Prabhupada, he was honoring prasadam. It was a seva. And one time a devotee asked Prabhupada, "Prabhupada, who's the best cook in ISKCON?" He said, "I am." He was an amazing cook. He taught everybody how to cook, and he said he learned from watching his mother. But I think it just came from the spiritual world, because just, kids, they don't. How much can you watch your mother? Right? And he learned all these amazing preparations, just unbelievable. Kids, they don't just watch everything the mother's doing, which is cooking. So I think that was his humility. It was just from the spiritual world. He just, unbelievable. You hear the stories of. There was one story of a devotee. It was actually Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's disappearance day, and Prabhupada cooked. And the devotees, they took prasad half day. And then, so they were, I think Prabhupada even served them out. He served them out prasadam, then he left. And this prasadam, one devotee explained to me, it was so good. It was just like nothing they'd ever tasted before. And it wasn't real special preparations, but it just had so much bhakti that about 5 or 6 devotees, after they finished what they ate, they crawled to the pot. And they were just taking it right out of the pot. They'd all been around for a while. They know you don't put your hands in the pot, But they were just like mesmerized. It was just like something never tasted before. So much bhakti. So it's amazing, That's it's like Prabhupada said, that if it's offered with love and devotion, Krishna eats it. And his transcendental saliva is there. So it must have been there, because the devotees are just like, just unbelievable. So, eating, sleeping, devotee, who was serving Prabhupada, when Prabhupada would take rest, before he would lay down to take rest, he would say, "Now I'm going to waste time." Now, how many of us think like that? When you go and take rest, like, all right, take it easy. But this is Prabhupada's mood. He didn't like it. And the 6 Goswamis, they would sleep like 2 hours a night. And sometimes Prabhupada said they would forget to sleep. Can't imagine. So devotees become very transcendental even to sleep. So eating, sleeping, mating, of course, mating is only there for procreation. And then defense. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna here says that the greatest defense, the greatest security is simply to realize I'm the soul. That's the greatest security. I mean, that's so transcendental. Only Krishna can say that. Well, the greatest security is realization that I'm a soul. Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. I don't know exactly. I think it's, I don't remember the exact the Sanskrit. But if you read you'll find it. But I thought that's beautiful. Because Nainam Chindanti Sastrani, Nainam Dehapi Bhavaka, Na Chainam Klayanti, and the Soshiti Marita. The soul can't be disturbed or destroyed by even the most powerful weapon. You can't burn the soul. You can't drown the soul. It can't be withered by the wind. Nothing can harm the soul. So to have that realization that I'm the soul within, that's a huge step, actually. It's a huge step. But in one place, Prabhupada said, devotional service begins when we're self-realized. Yeah. Of course, there's different levels of devotional service. But Prabhupada made that statement in this particular time. Because when we're self-realized, then there's also that realization of Krishna. And whatever we're doing it for the pleasure of Krishna. So, yeah, that's a nice thing about chanting. What I've found when we're chanting Hare Krishna, and we're hearing attentively, then you get this realization that I'm just a little soul. I'm not this body. This is one of the benefits. One of the many benefits of chanting Hare Krishna, that we get this realization. This is not me. This is just a bag. I'm a little soul. I'm not this mind either. I'm not this rascal mind. And Krishna says, Evam buddhe purang buddva samsavyahatmanamatma jahi satam mahava kamarupam drasa. He says, knowing oneself to be transcendental to the material senses, mind, and intelligence, one should carefully engage in Krishna consciousness and slay this formidable enemy known as lust. So this is the main obstacle to our realizing that we're the souls. As Arjuna inquired from Krishna, that what is it, Krishna, that forces us practically to act against our will? We don't want to. Lust only. This is the main enemy of the soul. But actually this is just a perverted reflection of this love for Krishna. So we're on the right path of going back to normal, removing this contamination and developing our love for Krishna. Okay, any question? Okay. How many people are online? Okay. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.